eggs, very low allergies, extremely digestible. Soya bean, of course, there's a big problem now in the US. Everybody is against soya bean. Why? Well, hormones. It's got estrogens, and natural estrogen. Yes, it does. It's got natural estrogens. It's very bad for you because in dogs it causes bloat. That's what the Americans say. Then it causes your muscle to weaken and your hair to fall out and this and that. If that was true, the Americans are the only people alive today and the Japanese will be dead. Okay? And it causes infertility. That means Chinese, 1.2 billion people who mainly survive on soybeans should not be producing children. The Americans should be very fertile, but they're not. The most fertile people are us. We breed like rabbits. Fish is good digestibility, low allergies, but unfortunately today a lot of fish are very contaminated. Mercury, and lead, and heavy metals, and BCPs. But it is the original true white meat. Chicken is not white meat. Huh? Just because it looks white, it's not white meat. You take kampung chicken, it's not white, okay? Depends on whether it had exercise or not. Kampung chicken, the meat is red, huh? Because of the exercise. It's a pigment. It's called myoglobin. You increase myoglobin when you exercise, just like fish, trout. Trout meat is not red, huh? It is due to the beta-carotene from flies, from the food it eats. If you don't feed it beta-carotene, the meat is white, you know. So we come to this other thing, autoimmune disease. I suspect strongly it's a spillover effect of an overreactive immune reaction. The body is overactive. So what happens? This overreaction turns back on itself. Because you're constantly taking all these inflammatory products. Your body is constantly fighting until your immune system is so overworked, it starts turning around, it doesn't recognize who is who anymore. All it does is fight. Just like you know, with a gun, you got enemies everywhere. You turn around, you shoot your own friends. It's called friendly fire. In Iraqi, it's called friendly fire. You kill your own people. Because you don't recognize them anymore. That's in the heat of a battle. And if you start taking allergic proteins, that's what you're doing. Your body is constantly at battle. You are fighting all, of course, I fight outside, you know, I'm always fighting with her. But in the heat of a battle inside, your body is constantly fighting. And you wind up damaging your joint. You know, there's rheumatoid arthritis. That's a form of autoimmune. But you know, when I was a nutritionist, do you think I can get people to change their diet? No. They want that happy tablet. You take a tablet, it will all go away. But I must have my char kway teow. I must eat my bak kwa. I must eat that pork that is barbecued and that fat. I gotta have that. So how? You can't win. But with animals, you can decide for them. I think. You can try. Did you know that in addition to lowering cholesterol, kidney beans, high fiber content prevents blood sugar levels from rising after a meal? These beans are very, very good. Can we give them to animals? Of course you can. Do you know bitter gourd, which is very good for blood sugar? It works, by the way. I prescribe them to my dogs and my cats who are diabetic. It works. When my animals are overweight, I have a tablet out there which contains the extract from white kidney beans. Because it works. It's a fat burner. So those of you who are here, eat beans. Did you know that quinoa, this is a protein that you can find in a health food shop. Because sometimes you're allergic. Most of us, I would reckon 70% of the people in this room are allergic to wheat and you don't know it. It's called gluten allergy. When you have a gluten, can you tell? Sometimes you scratch, you itch a bit after a meal. You scratch like that. Don't know why after a meal you start itching. You develop a little bits of spots after a meal, right? Or this. You have to loosen it 3 or 4 times. You haven't got a big meal, but you produce gas. I don't mean the other gas. I mean, but in your stomach. Your whole belly swells up. You see something, I'm like that. If I take noodles within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it will last me until next morning. My stomach is bigger. It's not because I'm fat. Well, I am a little bit. It's gas. I have gluten intolerance. Most people are. You're gluten intolerant. Some of us are allergic to gluten because it is genetically modified. Some of us, if we take the organic wheat, we don't have a problem. The minute we eat normal bread and all that, gluten is not glutinous rice. That's not gluten. Gluten is only found in wheat products. Your breads, your pastas, and all is gluten. 70% of you people in this room, you're gluten intolerant, but you don't know it. You should do a test because you are. That's the best way to cut down a lot of allergies. A lot of allergies are caused by gluten. Same with dogs. So substitute quinoa. But I haven't seen anybody do a fried quinoa. Only fried kway teow. But if you think you're gluten intolerant, stick to rice products. The noodles, rice noodles. Green bean noodles. You can avoid wheat. The power couple. Broccoli and tomatoes. Good for dogs. Give them a lot of fresh broccoli. I produce a vegetarian diet. My German Shepherd was 18 when I put her down. She was a vegetarian for half her life. She was a vegetarian because she had a problem. She had IBD, irritable bowel disease, plus she got a chronic skin problem. And she's got spondylosis where the spine starts to fuse. I believe that's actually an allergic reaction to food. So when I started her on a vegetarian diet, she didn't have any more problems. Her spine stopped fusing. Because every year when I take the spine, it looks worse and worse and worse. We must include it. If you don't, the animals want to go on and they'll eat grass and leaves and all that. Cats will do that. Dogs will do that the same. They need it. They need the fiber. They need the chlorophyll. They need the phytoproteins. They need the phytochemicals that's present. They need it. You need to avoid the meat-only syndrome. People think, well, carnivores, you only need meat. If you just make an animal eat meat, that animal will be in trouble. In the wild, there's no such thing as an obligate carnivore. Only in Hollywood. A true obligate means you don't eat anything else other than meat. Hey, listen, you're going to die if you just... there's a symptom called all meat syndrome. You die. Your bones get soft. Your hair falls out. You become... well, you die. If you look in the wild, you look at Discovery Channel and all that, you look at the animals that will eat... when they kill a game, they will eat everything. From inside to outside. They start on the inside. They will open up the abdomen. Then they eat all the intestinal contents, which is all the digestive vegetables and all that. They will eat that first. Then they'll spend the time in the tree eating the rest of the meat and the bones and all that. But they have to eat the... and in Africa, during the very hot drought season, summertime, when there are no animals coming to the water hole, lions will eat grass. They will eat grass for 1 to 2 months to feel full and also help them during this period. They won't die. They can digest it. You can digest vegetables. A lot of people behave like they're obligate carnivores. They never eat any veggies. You have to digest vegetables. My Filipino maids don't even know how to spell vegetable because they never eat vegetables. They never eat fruits. They just eat meat. And my maid just dropped dead. She dropped dead last year. She's 52 years old. She dropped dead. She's got chronic arthritis. She's got autoimmune disease and coronary heart disease. But no, she doesn't eat the same food as I do. When I eat, she's supposed to eat. No, she doesn't. She thinks that's not nice food. So she cooks her own nice food at the back. She eats that. Stews and meats and stews and meat and plenty of carbs and plenty of carbs. Well, she's gone. She's gone. In fact, she would have a better meal if she ate my dog food. At least she'll survive. Longevity, I suspect, and health, there's L missing, is proportional to the amount of fruits and vegetables consumed regularly. Because some of these population studies been done. The vegetarians live longer, you know. So what is wrong with processed food? Our food is processed. There is something wrong with it. That's the truth. There are problems. You know, that my credibility is because I make it too. I know what goes into it. I know what can go wrong. Whereas every pet food company, they never talk like me. They hide all of this. Our food is the best. It is complete. It doesn't, it's nonsense. It's got too much sugar, salt, and fat. You have to. Because if you take meat and all the ingredients and you put it at one end of this oven, and it comes out the other end in about 30 to 45 minutes. Hey, listen, it's burnt, That's why it looks like shit. And it tastes like shit. I know because I tasted. You have to add this to make it taste better. And there's usually not enough fiber because it's cheaper to buy starch and all that. And if you've got too much fiber, the food falls apart. The carbohydrates is processed. What does processing mean? You take some poor vegetable and you apply the 200C. That's pretty processed. Food additives. Of course. There are a lot of companies will make it, taste of bacon and smell of anchovies. And hey, there's nothing in there. There's no bacon. There's no anchovies. It's just flavoring. All these are flavoring. You think you buy that 20-cent packet of chips with barbecue flavoring that's really barbecue in there? It never went near a barbecue. It comes in a container. They blend it together. There's nothing real these days. Sometimes I suspect my staff also not quite real. But everything today is artificial. There are no enzymes because any food that you supply heat to, the enzymes will die. They disappear. And we know enzymes are the most important element in our body because they act as catalysts. We survive because of enzymes. And that's why you've got to give these animals fruits and veggies because that's where the enzymes are. The highest enzymes are found in papaya, not in durians. Papaya. Nobody likes eating papaya. It's only $1. It's easy to grow. It's so cheap and easy, nobody bothers to fertilize it. So it's organic. RDA, the recommended daily allowance. You'll find that in all the foods, right? RDA. Well, who came up with the first RDA? I'll tell you who. Purina, back in the 1960s, formulated RDA, the recommended daily allowance. The minimal recommended daily allowance, okay? But that doesn't mean that complies, Because it's there in the books, nobody else bothered to do any more after that. If I just supply that RDA, it's good enough. That's why dog food manufacturers, they will test the product. You need a little bit more potassium, they add a bit more potassium. Need a bit more. Hey, listen, what about all the trace elements like cobalt and magnesium and titanium and strontium and all this other stuff? All the NEOMs you need, but it's not in your RDA. But your body needs small amounts of these to do chemical reactions. At least we have a conscience. I double up on everything, so we exceed the RDA in addiction. We do that. Because we know when you put a packet of food on the shelf, all of this stuff disappears as well with oxidation and all that. It's better to have more than less. The food groups, essential for optimal health. Animal protein ingredients. That white-looking chicken, fruits and vegetables. All this is enough to supply with everything that you need. Some of the arguments, all these dog food companies will tell you, it's totally complete. They all meet RDA, therefore it's complete. Really? RDA was back in the 60s. What about all the new stuff we discovered that is in food that we need? What about enzymes? There's no enzymes. They say we have probiotics, these bacteria they put in. Actually, it's all dead. You cannot put real bacteria, live ones, in dry dog food because it will ferment it. It's dead. And if they sprinkle some enzyme, it's there only when you open the packet. Within 24 hours, it's oxidized. It's gone. Processed food has been properly researched. Really? That means every dog food company from here to China, the food is all. Really? So why do we give this covering report. We have this big thing that all food is the same. They're not the same. You know, when you pay, the price is not the same. Your pet's requirements are so specialized that you, as an owner, you are incapable of giving them a balanced diet. So tomorrow, all of you got to drop dead. Tomorrow, your children must all die. Because if they don't, you better go to the supermarket with a weighing scale, with a book that tells you how much of this, how much of that, because otherwise your children are getting an imbalanced diet. Is that true? You mean that when an animal kills or a cat catches a bird or a rat to eat, he's got to think, oh, I need something for senior. This year I'm 11 years old. Should I still be eating this sparrow now? You know? How much protein do I need? You know, I need to balance it off. Otherwise, people tell me I'm not going to survive. You know, we sometimes tend to be so caught up in advertising, we forget what is real. You don't prepare meals like that. Are you alive today? Of course you are. Do your children grow? Of course they do. You roughly know what they need, because we're not stupid. You roughly know, and most of you allow it to the hawker stall to design your diet, right? So, what about raw foods? That's where I'm going to end it with, because raw food is fantastic. I have treated so many diseases with raw food, and I mean treat. I don't mean just prevention. I can treat. A lot of diseases do very well on raw foods. A properly balanced through rotation and supplementation, fresh food is good. Raw foods are rich. Natural antioxidants, vitamins, EFAs, essential fatty acids, enzymes, cofactors, trace elements, and non-denatured protein. What is a denatured protein? You take a piece of chicken, you put it through the processing plant, you wait at the other end, you think you're going to get a piece of chicken coming out. What comes out doesn't look like chicken, doesn't taste like chicken, and certainly doesn't smell like chicken. It's called a denatured protein. So what happens when you feed an animal denatured protein? The same thing happens when you take a piece of meat and you barbecue it till it's burnt, and you eat that, and you see what happens. I give you 1 year, you're going to be in trouble. Increase degenerative diseases in men and animals with consumption of too much processed food. I, as a clinical nutritionist, cannot go and give a talk to the humans and tell them, you know, there's a lot of good foods out there. They come in a packet. The call of Penang, you know, the taste of whatever. If you eat that, I go to jail. Huh? But vets and all of you make statements like that. But you will never do it for yourself or your children. But you think it's different for animals. Why? Our animal requirements are not much different to yours. They're not much different to yours. In fact, as a vet, tomorrow I can treat you. Similar. Organ systems are similar. Drugs are similar. Diseases are very similar. Dogs and cats, they get gastric ulcers from tension. They have, you name it, coronary heart disease. They get fillings. What we do dentistry. They get holes in their teeth from too much consumption, too much sugars and all. They have every disease that you can think of that we get. They get the same. Irritable bowel disease, they have it. Crohn's disease, they have it. The only thing they don't have piles, but they have other things in the backside. Raw protein, most of it is hypoallergenic. When you take a piece of meat, you process it at 200 to 300 degrees centigrade, what comes out the other end? It's highly allergenic. Why? Because they're all full of free radicals in there. They are denatured. Right from the start, you have created a bag which is full of free radicals. And you're consuming that. So, thank you. We shall have a 15, 20-minute break.